Hello, today we're going to be going over our Platinum Salem FSX model 280 RTX, and we're going to be starting up front here basically with our tongue jack. Basically you have two controls on this. One's just going to be a light, so if you had to hook up at night. Our second one here, so you're going to be able to raise and lower the unit. That's how we get on and off the tow vehicle, but this is also how we level from front to back. But while we're still hooked to the tow vehicle, we do want to make sure we're level from side to side first. You can use a carpenter's level. Nice thing is the previous owner does actually have the levels on here. So this is going to be your side to side, and there's going to be one on that side for the front to back. So you might be off by a little bit. I think here it shows we're off just a little bit. So I put some blocks down on this side. Use the tow vehicle to roll onto those blocks. All right, let the tow vehicle help you level from side to side. Once you're good from side to side, then you unhook from the tow vehicle. Make sure you pull forward and then level front to back using this guy. Once again, read your indicator on the side. It'll tell you when you're level. And then after that, you'll lower your stabilizer jacks. Those guys are located on each corner of the camper. It is a 3/4 socket. I tell you that to put it on a drill. It does make it a lot easier. They do provide a manual crank for you, and I will show you that here in just a moment. This here is where you can take this cap off, and it gives you the manual crank option for the tongue jack, which that tool is in the side compartment as well. Next, we're going to have our two 20-pound tanks. These guys have both been filled, minus what was used to test the propane system with. Right now, our gauge is going to be reading red, showing us that we don't have any propane flow. Basically, we turn this guy on. As you see, it immediately goes to green to show that we have a propane flow. Once the tank is empty, it would turn red, showing you that tank is empty. This guy here is that little notch telling you what tank we're using. This system is designed to where you can have both tanks on if you wanted to. And when the one tank empties, it will automatically start pulling from the second tank. The only problem with that is that you won't know that this tank is empty unless you come out here and look at this regulator, because it'll be reading red trying to pull from the tank, but it's empty. We always like to recommend just having one on at a time, so that way you know when one of those tanks is empty. Back behind that's where our battery is going to be located, 24 series deep cycle marine RV style battery. And then back behind that's where your battery disconnect is going to be located. So with this guy, this is always going to be on whenever you're towing the camper, whenever you're hooked up using the camper. Basically, the only time you're going to disconnect this guy is when you're storing it. Basically, you just turn the key and it'll come right out. And it disconnects the camper from the battery. So like your LP detector, or if you accidentally forgot to turn the fridge off, it will not drain the battery on you, because this is a 12-volt style fridge that you have in this unit. And then this guy here is just your propane cover. All right, as we come around to the side, here's going to be that manual crank for our stabilizer jacks. This was our manual crank for our tongue jack up there. We do have the spare tire they have located in here. And then this guy here is going to be a quick connect spray port. And I'll show you that here in just a moment. That is located right here on the other side of the slide. This is a pass-through storage compartment as well. The lock for this guy is going to be a standard 751 key. One thing to note with your slide is it is a Swintech style slide. So it operates off these guys, but it works on two independent motors that communicate with each other through a control panel. One thing that you have to note is you are to never lubricate these guys. Over time, it can start causing gumming up on the motors and things like that, and then it'll cause them not to properly work. When they start looking dirty or dingy, they just recommend simple soap and water. Kind of scrub them down and rinse them off. And we'll talk a little more about the slide when we step inside as well, because there's also some other information you got to know whenever you're operating the slide room. All right, down below here is where our dump area is going to be. This is where you would hook up a sewer hose. And then from there, you're going to open the black first to drain the black. Okay, when you do that, that's when you're going to hook up to this guy right here. This is your black tank flush. This is basically a sprayer inside the black tank that sprays around and gets the nastiness out. I do always like to recommend keeping it simple, so go out and buy a black hose, black tank, black hose, keeps it simple. You do want to try to use a pressure regulator at the water spigot first, and then hook up your black hose and hook it up to here. The reason for that check valve is because on the back side of this is a plastic check valve that can get damaged if too strong a water pressure. Turn it on, you start dumping. You'll see the water coming clear through the clear elbow. That's when you're going to shut the water spigot off, unhook it from the spigot, then unhook it from here. From there, you'll close that guy off, and then you'll open your gray to drain the gray. So with this model, they have it designed where the bathroom sink is tied in with the toilet tank. So your gray tank is going to be the kitchen sink and shower, and then your black tank is going to consist of the toilet and the bathroom sink. Right about that is where our city water hookup is. Once again, you're going to use a pressure regulator at the water spigot. Your options of a blue or white water drinking hose, and then hook up to here. From there, you'll turn it on. You'll be ready to use the cold water side right away. You do have to wait till you fill the water heater before you get water coming from the hot side. We'll show you that once we get to the other side of the unit. Then this here is that quick connect spray port that I was telling you about for that that hose and that sprayer. This here is where your 30 amp power cord gets retracted and pulled from. And this guy will close here so you can keep it blocked from water getting inside. So next you're going to have this notice sticker here. This is to make sure you do properly check the lug nuts. It is recommended that you would check these guys at 50, 100, and 200 miles. I do always like to say, just whenever you leave the campground, usually first place we stop is going to be the gas station to refuel to head home. While you're refueling, you can check these lug nuts. You're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. You do also want to make sure you keep these guys topped off at 65 PSI. Okay, this does show that you have green cap showing that there is nitrogen. I have topped these guys off with regular air. It's hard to say if the previous owner topped them off with regular air as well. If you ever decide you're wanting to put nitrogen back in them, wherever you go to that place that holds nitrogen, let them know that regular air has been put in the tires so they know to purge the tires. All right, as we come here towards the back, this is where we're going to have our cable and satellite hookup, basically your campground cable or satellite. Basically, you hook it up to here. You got to turn off the TV antenna booster for that cable signal to come through, and I'll show you that once we have stepped inside. You're going to see this guy here, and there is one on the other side as well. These are basically venting for whenever you have your toy, like your side-by-side, four-wheeler, motorcycle, anything along those lines in the back of the coach. This is for proper venting so those gas fumes wouldn't potentially build up from those items. All right, so next we're going to have our deck here area, deck/ramp. Basically, you pop that guy, this will flip open. Pulls open, and then basically you just kind of pull on that guy and it'll come down. As you see, I am doing this by myself. It is not super heavy. Basically, we have it into the deck option right now. If you wanted to use it as the ramp part, basically all you do is you lift this up a little bit, take some pressure off, pull your pin here. You do that on both sides, you'll be able to lower this down for your ramp. And then these guys here would come off as well just by pulling these pins so you're able to get your toys in there. So with these guys here, these guys are just going to basically flip up. This guy will come around, and then it slides here to slide to lock into place. You do that on both sides, and then there's a little area right here that's open, and that's what these guys right here are for. Right inside this little bag. Pretty much you got little lock pin things that lock the gate in. Just like so. Really nice and simple with this guy. And it does come with the screen. The edges of that screen are magnetic, and then the center is the zipper part. And of course we'll see that once we have stepped inside. So this guy does have a lock. They're located up here on top of each corner, so it wouldn't potentially pop open on you going down the road. Those guys are going to be your gray looking key. I will show you guys that here in just a moment. That is something there that, as you see, you got to do check whenever you're going to bring this guy in to make sure those guys are in the proper place. All right, as we kind of come around to the side, basically you're going to have a rear entry door here. Oh, I forgot she locked my deadbolt on me. Basically, this is so that you could access the back if you wanted to. These steps here are real simple. These guys just flip and slide into place. Yes, this guy does look a little dingy or dirty right now. This guy will be nice and clean by the time you come pick it up. We do have 2 outside speakers. I do have those on for you at this time so you can hear those. And I'll show you how to turn those on and off when we step inside. Also right above is going to be our vent for the stove. This guy does have to be open whenever you go to operate the stove. When you go to close it for travel, I usually like to stick my finger in the middle and kind of cause it to flex a little bit. Helps feed it right into those little notches to help push and lock it into place. Down here is going to be where our furnace intake and outtake is located. We are not trying to block this guy. It does need to be able to properly breathe. But the nice thing is that you actually have this mud dauber screen on here, so it helps keep the mud daubers and wasps out of here from getting in there and creating a nest that can potentially cause problems down the road. They do provide an outside 110 outlet for you that is GFCI protected, because we're outside where it can potentially get wet. And then this guy here is going to be where you would fill your fresh water tank. It is gravity fed, so you stick your hose in and let it fill, but you do want to read the monitor panel inside so that when it reads full, you know to shut that water off. You don't want to wait for the water to start shooting back out at you, because over time that can cause damage to both the outside of the coach and inside where it's connected on the back side of this piece here. To drain this guy, he is going to be located down below. Still the camera here, so you can see pretty much that guy right there. You just remove that cap and you'll start draining the fresh water tank. Right here are your low point drains. You got red for hot, blue for cold. I usually like to say, a lot of times people only do these whenever they go to winterize the coach. I usually like to say when you're done camping, you open up these guys, you open up a faucet. As you go home, it's going to push that air is going to push that excess water out of the lines for you, so you won't have any water that becomes stagnant or bad. When you start getting that rotten egg smell going through your lines and things like that, then you have to sanitize the unit. To do so, the nice thing you can do is you put a quarter cup of bleach in here with about 2/3 of water. You'll turn on your pump, cycle it through everything water-wise, and then let it sit for a couple hours. Then from there, you're going to drain it. Either hook up to your city water to kind of flush it out, or just kind of add more water to the fresh tank to kind of flush it out. This guy here is going to be our water heater. All right, this guy is gas only. I'll show you how to turn that on once we have stepped inside. But whenever, once again, we're done camping, we're trying to get the water out of it. We're going to pull this guy here to relieve the pressure, and then we're going to remove this down here. This is your anno rod. This is a 1 1/16 socket. It starts out the size of a dime and works itself down to the size of a coat hanger. What it's doing is attracting the impurities in the water so that it would attack that rod and not the tank, because it is a steel tank. You do want to check that periodically, so you are going to want to remove this when you're done camping every time so you can inspect that rod. And then we have our other side for our compartment door over here as well. They do also give you the option for solar. It's just a simple plug and play, so basically it would just sit on the ground. So next we're going to have our steps here. One thing to notice with these steps, and it's pretty important with these steps, is that you do want to make sure this door is open as far as possible whenever you go to open or close the steps. As you see right here, it'll catch the screen door. So we got to kind of help that because our awning arm is right on the other side of the door. Basically these guys turn, locks into place, and it stays secure during travel. I was just thinking that when I was talking about our keys. I did grab the wrong set of keys off my table. I apologize for that. But basically, your back one is going to be that gray key I was telling you about, but then you're going to have 2 purple keys. And I'll actually mark that the key for the back door for you, so that way you know which key is which. But basically, with these guys, you'll stick it in the door, and it will turn to the right to lock the door handle. For the deadbolt, it gets turned to the left, and you wouldn't be able to pull the key out in that position. A lot of times, if you turn this to the right, a lot of the times you'll pull that key out, and it shows you that you did not lock your deadbolt. Alright, so as we step inside, we're going to have our fire extinguisher located right here at the entry door. Then down below is going to be our carbon monoxide and LP detector. Basically with this guy, just if it senses propane or carbon monoxide, this will start going off. You also do want to periodically test this guy, usually every 9 to 14 days, just by simply pushing this button. It will be forming its test. These guys are good for about 7 to 10 years. It does have a manufacturer's date on the back side, but they are known to go out before that. but you do want to make sure that guy is properly working. There is other things that can cause it to set it to go off. Generally hairspray, cleaning chemical, and animal gases. Okay, so just please be mindful of all that. All right, when we step inside, basically we're gonna have the control panel right up at the top here. I gotta sneak you right through here. So once again, we gotta make sure the door's not in the way of our awning arm at this point now. And we'll show you guys that here in just a second. We're gonna start at the very top. Basically, it's gonna tell you your status of the battery, our fresh water tank, which we're down to a third of water. Our black tank's still gonna have water in it. I haven't had a chance to dump them yet since it was a used camper. I did put a cleaner in there to try to help clean that tank, and then our gray as well. Then we have the water pump. You're only using the water pump if you're using the fresh water tank. If you're using city water, you do not need this guy. This here is the gas option for the water heater. You turn it on, this DSI fault light will come on until it is fired on propane. It will try to fire 3 times. After that 3rd time that it doesn't light, that light would stay on. Then we want to go and see if we forgot to turn the tank on or if that tank is possibly empty. Then we have 2 sets of lights. Basically our first one here is going to be for our awning lights and the lights in our little radio speaker. And then our other one here is only for the light above our doorway. All the other lights in the coach does have to be turned on and off by hand. And since this is off, it's a little easier to show you. There's a little center push button in front of and all these lights here that you would push to turn it on and off. All right, so then after that we have our switch here. It's going to bring our awning out, up and out, down and in. Basically, you open this guy till you'll see a flap come all the way down. This guy is not very fast. Even slower coming in. But basically this guy, like I said, you'll start to see that flap right there. You look for that flap, you want it basically kind of pointing straight down, and then that's where we're going to be at for its positioning. When we step outside here, I'll step over here so you can just kind of see. You gotta, with these guys here, you got to make sure these little star guys are loose, and then you're able to push and then twist to lock this tight to create a pitch on your awning. This is meant to be as a shade protectant. They do say that anytime that your camper is unoccupied, your awning should be brought in. And then our other one here is going to be for our slide room to bring it in and out. We're going to do that at the end of the or at the end of our virtual, so you guys can hear those 2 motors operating, so you can kind of know what that sound is that you hear. And that way there is no confusion. The one thing to also note with this is that it's either all the way in or all the way out. There is no halfway point with these guys because it operates on the 2 motors talking to through a communication panel. Next, you're going to have a 110 and USB hookup here. Closet space for storage on the side and up above. So for your bed part here, you're going to remove this cushion. This guy will come down. And then this will flip over. Just like so. And it's ready for bed. This guy can be up or down during travel. There is no preference. Just make sure that it is locked in. If it is, you're going to have it up in that travel position. You have a fire exit window here. So if you guys couldn't make your way to the door, basically this guy here just flips up and then comes out. This is on a hinge, so the whole window would fling open so you can get out. This here, so they recommend that you pull the screen so you can get out. I always look at it that if there's a fire, I ain't worried about no screen. I'm just trying to get out of this coach. You got another 110 USB hookup here. You got the big ambiance window there. It's nice to have that open, especially during dinner time, because they sadly don't have a light above your dinette. So when that shade is down, it is a little dark in this area. This guy does fold down and breaks down to a bed. Basically, you would just lift the table up. You pull both of these guys out. They sit right there on the floor. And then basically, your table will sit right here on this edge all the way around, and then you just fill it in with those 2 cushions in the back. As you see, I do have a drawer taken out right now. That's to discuss something once we've reached the other side of the coach. But inside this drawer is going to be where your owner's manual is located. Basically, the manual has most of the manuals for the appliances in the coach. A lot of the manufacturers have been going paperless for their manual, so you can generally just search on online for the model and download a PDF file for a manual to this unit specifically. You do get storage underneath each bench seat as well. And then over here is where our little entertainment center is kind of located. Basically, you're going to have your radio down here. So we had the outside speakers on. That is going to be our speaker zone 2. Speaker zone 1 is going to be our inside speakers. You got inside speaker here, and then you got one in the back area as well. There is USB hookup, Bluetooth as well. If you just go to push this button though, it just mutes it. To shut this off, you do have to press and hold for usually about 3 to 5 seconds and it will shut off. Then down below is going to be where our fireplace is located. Basically, you got your power to turn it on. You got an H for high. I'm going to turn that off because we also have the air conditioner on, so I just don't want to accidentally trip a fuse or anything, or a breaker or anything like that. But basically right now it's just going to be our ambiance look. When you push this button again, it'll show you an L for low fan and then the H for high fan. You are able to change the color of the rocks to whatever you kind of preference. This here is a timer setting from 30 minutes to, I think this was 9 hours. Oh, 5 hours. And then we're back to our power button again. Alright, up here at the very top, it is pre-wired for Wi-Fi. But then this here is going to be that antenna booster I was telling you about. You do have to push this button and turn it off. As you see, that light just shut off. We got to have this off if we're trying to watch campground cable. Okay, that cable signal will not come through if the booster is on, because it's considering the antenna as the primary source, and we want to shut that source off for that cable signal to come through. And then you got your 110 hook up there as well. Here's going to be where our thermostat is located. There's a lot of button pushing. So when you first turn it on, it's going to light it up. I'm just going to go ahead and start at the very beginning. So we would have off. Give it a second for the air conditioner to kick off. I do have the tendency to move too fast for the system sometimes. So we will turn that guy on. We got fan low and fan high. That's just going to be our fan. Then you got cool high and cool low. And this 2 settings here, the air conditioner just continuously runs. It will not shut off to the desired set temp that you have it at. Then after that, you got cool low auto and cool high auto. With those 2 settings there, it would shut off to the desired temp that you have it set at. Right now I had it set at 63 because it was a warm day today. And then our last option is the heat. The heat runs off propane only. It is not electric. See, hopefully I didn't go too fast for that guy. Alright, as we step into the bathroom area, once again you turn these lights on by hand. I'll sneak in there. Over here we're going to have our GFCI outlet. So a lot of the outlets we've seen are GFCI stickered. So if for some reason that they're not working, come and check and make sure this guy hasn't been tripped. This is going to be our sink area here. So I usually try to have the furthest source from the low point drain. So I try to open my bathroom faucets, make sure your plug ain't in there, so that water isn't getting filled up in here. You got storage here, storage down below, and then here's our toilet area here. Whenever we're going to do our business, you're going to lightly press on that pedestal so you can add water to do your business, and then you press all the way down to flush. It will naturally put water back into this bowl. The reason for that is because we don't want that seal to get dry rotted or brittle. So you do always want to make sure that there's always some kind of liquid on those seals. And then located on the other side is going to be our shower area. It has a button here. Basically, this is to reduce the water pressure so that you can try to get the most out of your hot water. Your water heater is only 6 gallons. The average American uses 38 gallons of hot water when they take a shower. You're just outmatched naturally. But then basically you got your hot and your cold. All right, then we're going to step into the toy hauler area. Once again, we've got to push our button here to turn on some lights. We'll just turn these guys on here. So I'm just going to show you, but basically both sides here, you would remove these cushions. Where you store them is entirely up to you. They don't kind of give you a real good planned place to store them. And where was I? Oh, there he is. We will raise this up. And where did we go? Where did they put? Well, these guys here will basically fold. Push that button down. These guys will fold in. There should be space where this would hook to. Oh, there it is. Like I say, I knew it was somewhere. Just couldn't remember. And then right there, and then this would kind of sits like so. If you needed this to sit further, so you needed more room, you can actually take this and move this further up to where there isn't so much slack on that. And that's going to be the same for both sides. But if you do not have your toys in here, and basically you're going to be having the table and stuff like that in here, this guy, I'll show you that here in just a second. I'll put this guy back on. This guy has Velcro strips on the edges, and it actually secures right here on these wood blocks for travel. I'll just try to look what I can and try to line that up as best as possible. Then just try to set her down on there. And then there we go. Here on the back side over here, it does have the option where you can put a TV here. It says your TV backer's here, but it feels more almost like right here. It feels like a nice solid stud right where my hand is located. For the mount though, you want to try to get one where your screws are going to be right here in the center. Try not to have ones where they're going to be all over the place, because it's pretty soft on each side of that, except for like a span of like this right here. But then you hook up, you got your tent, and then you got your little dresser area here. Previous guy did leave the additional knobs. Sorry, I had a slight brain fart there. Okay, I'm going to try not to hit my head, but right over here, hopefully you can see behind me, is going to be where our fuse control box is located. I'm going to steal this guy here. And there we go. All right, so basically everything on the left side is going to be on the breakers are going to be everything that would operate on 110. So you have to be plugged into Sure Power for those to work. Everything that runs off the battery is going to be on your fuses on the right side. And they do have everything labeled for you right there for what fuses is which, and then the same for the 110. Watching my head. I actually hit my head really good on that earlier.
Well, we don't want that to happen.
Trying to knock myself out. Once again, they give you another 110 and a USB hookup here as well. The USB hookups are nice for charging phones and things along that nature. Alright, so then next we're going to have our 12-volt fridge. This is your little travel lock. Up here, you're able to adjust the temperature to whatever you like for the freezer. If you turn it to the colder setting, it does have the tendency to start actually freezing things in the fridge area. But then down below, you have your settings down here for whatever you would like. Usually when I first turn this on, I like to have it on 4 or 5. And then once it gets good and cold, I push that set button and usually have it set to about 3. That's usually a pretty good setting. Like I said though, you do want to make sure you shut these guys off. To do so, you're just going to press and hold for 10 seconds and then it will shut off the fridge. And then it even tells you that in parentheses down here. And this does, and then the manual does show you that this will do that in that off position. Next, we got the microwave, pretty self-explanatory. One thing I usually do like to recommend is set the time. You guys go out, come back, you see the time ain't set on this. That means there was a power failure at the campsite. We want to look and see if it was from the campground or for the electric company. Then next, we're going to have our hood range. Got that fan, and then we got a light. And our stove here is not a glass stove top, so you do have to open this up like so whenever you go to cook. But basically, you just turn this to the flame icon, go to turn it on. This is only going to run for about 8 seconds and shut off because I shut the tank back off. So usually, yeah, as you see, our flames are already dwindling down. So that's going to be these 3 burners up top. This one here is going to be for the oven. Once again, you'll turn it to that flame icon, but you got to press and hold it in while you light. Nice thing is that this will spark ignite as well. And if you angle this just right, you can usually catch that reflection of the spark igniter in the back, and you can see when that pilot's been lit. Once it's been lit, you keep it pressed and held in for about 7 to 10 seconds roughly on this one, and then you can set your temperature. Then we do stock out the storage up above as well and down below here. Alright, that's what's going to bring us on down to our next setup here. So the reason why our drawer is out, because this is where we are going to winterize our coach. Basically, you got your hose here. And where was he at? Oh, he's right there in the back. So, let me try to see if I can't provide a little light so we can see that a little better. Basically, right here, or we can even see it better from here. I'll have you come on this side for me. Okay, let me see that a lot better. So basically, right now, this guy is set up to pull water from the fresh tank. Whenever we go to winterize, we're going to turn this knob like so. You would take off your cap and stick this into your gallon jugs of antifreeze. One thing to note is when you turn one of these knobs, you're going to be turning all 3 knobs. Well, where's those other 2 by chance? Well, those are going to be located right here on the back of your water heater. So right now, these guys are in line with the water heater. So we got our cold water coming in and then our hot water coming out. When we go to winterize, you're going to basically turn this guy here at the top, here at the bottom, and turn this one. That way, what you're doing is you're not allowing antifreeze to go into this water tank, okay? So that antifreeze is going to come through your cold line, but then wraps around this line here and then goes through the hot line, so you're able to winterize the hot side as well. But we are now in time for camping, so I am going to flip these guys back around, just like so. They do have a couple panels here that go into place. The previous owner just left them off to make it for more easy access. That is entirely up to you guys as well if you'd like to leave them off, or we can put them back on. Sharp objects. Okay. So then we got our sink up top. You got the nice little guys up here for kind of ambiance look.
Or extra counter space.
Or extra counter space. I do recommend if you're going to be chopping stuff, use the bottom side so this side looks nice and pretty for our friends. Alright, and then from there we've made our way back to the door, so we are going to, I'm going to go ahead and shut this guy off here. And then we're going to bring our awning in, or our slide room in, so you're able to hear that, so you know what we're hearing here. Oh, wrong side. It's the same as the awning. Pushing it down is going to bring the room in. Pushing up will bring the room out. You kind of hear those guys. Those are the 2 motors that are kind of communicating independently. Or working independently. And then once you get done, I always like to hold that button in for an extra 3 to 5 seconds just to make sure that the room has came in all the way. The reason for that is because, once again, there's 2 independent motors. One might be moving a couple resolutions faster than the other. So once that one side is in, if the other side isn't in all the way, it will bring it in. So, but all right, from there, that very much concludes our virtual walkthrough here. Hopefully this was knowledgeable and informational for you. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to call us, and we'll do our best to answer those questions for you over the phone. And thank you, and have a wonderful day.